Hello, and happy Friday. Welcome back to Malts and Meeples. I'm getting going a couple minutes early here. We'll see how long this stream lasts. A little bit of allergies today, so just a little less energy. But I do have time to stream, which is never a bad thing. Also, because of the allergies, all I'm doing is drinking Target brand sparkling water, pomegranate, and dragon fruit. Which is nice and refreshing. Honestly, one of the better flavors or flavor combinations that I found in between all the different sparkling water brands, from Good and Gather to LaCroix, and forget what all the others are, but bubbly, I guess. Yeah, that one is just more refreshing than a lot of them. Obviously, no malts in that, so Malts and Meeples only works on the Meeples level tonight. But let's start diving into the pile of stuff I have here, because, well, it's mainly roll and writes to start. Only roll and writes to start. In fact, we start with Sonora from Pandasaurus Games. This is a roll and write game where instead of rolling dice, you are flicking discs to try and land in areas of the boards, and then you combo that in, or you fill in spots on your board once all the discs have been flicked. It is a blast to play. It is one that is most definitely sticking in the collection. I've played it a handful of times at this point in time, and it's just something that is different than any other roll and write that I've played out there. Alright, so next up we have Patchwork Doodle. This is the game that Second Chance almost left for. I said almost left because while I did have it on the chopping block, my wife saved it. It is one that is... So, Second Chance is very simple, and that makes it easier for her to teach and her to get to the table versus, say, the ones that I might be teaching. And Patchwork Doodle gives me the same feeling as Second Chance. You are basically creating squares on your board using different kind of Tetris type shapes, but you're trying to get the biggest possible square. So basically your biggest possible quilt on the board, and I think it works well. It's one that I can play with my family. It's not too complex, but it does offer a few powers and stuff like that, which is something that Second Chance doesn't, which is why, where to me, only I am keeping Patchwork Doodle, but I'd be getting rid of Second Chance. Instead, it got a Second Chance. Next up, 2 games for the price of 1. We have Super Skill Pinball 4K, and Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up. These are both same game system, just more pinball boards that you can play on. I've really enjoyed the 4K. I haven't played any of these yet, but this is one of my top 5. For sure, top 5 roll and write games out there. Definitely going to be sticking around in the collection. Next up, we have another little one, Crisscross. Crisscross is one that I debate whether or not I want to keep it. Now, fortunately, this is a very, very tiny little game, so, well, I am going to be keeping it because it's a pretty simple roll and write. It's one they say it plays in 10 minutes, and that is pretty accurate. Plus, it can play, well, they say 1 to 6 players. That's not accurate. You can play infinite number of players on it, and it does some fun little things. I like it at the different challenge modes you can play it as, or the simple version of the game and the slightly more complex. So definitely another one that is sticking in the collection. Even though I've played it a lot, it is still a good little game to pull out in terms of a roll and write game that can handle a large number of players. This is a great filler roll and write option. Then we have Cat Cafe from Alley Cat Games. Alley Cat Games also has done the Paper Dungeons roll and write that I really like. This one, I want to give some more tries to it, but it's okay. Mainly, I don't know, it feels like the end of the game kind of is arbitrary. Like you're building these cat towers, putting different things on them to attract cats. And yeah, it's a fun concept. You're drafting dice, but there's, I don't know, it's on the lighter end, and you have these towers, and the first person to get 3 of them all the way to the top, that triggers the end of the game. It doesn't feel like that makes that much sense in terms of how the end game is triggered. So it's just a fine roll and write that I've played a few times, but I want to play a few more just to see if it sticks. Then we have Dino World. This is one that I have to play still. So, well, technically it's called Welcome to Dino World, which makes it confusing considering there's the game Welcome to New Las Vegas, Welcome to the Moon, that are all part of a series. This one's not. This came out after Welcome to. I don't know if they were trying to be clever by having Welcome to as part of the name, so maybe get some brand recognition, get some recognition that doesn't actually exist for this game, which in some ways I think backfired on them. But I've heard solid things about it. It's supposed to be a dinosaur park building game, so I want to try it. Next up, we have one that is for sure not leaving. This is Super Mega Lucky Box. This gets described as kind of a gamer's bingo, in that you're filling in, I have all the pieces loose, these cards here, which are basically bingo-esque type cards. You complete rows or columns and you unlock a bonus. The game's very simple, but a lot of fun. You can play 6 players in 20 minutes, they say, which I think is accurate. I mean, I can play this solo, so it's 1 to 6 player. I can play it solo in 10. A lot of fun. I was worried, if you look at my original review, I was worried that there wasn't going to be the depth of play or the strategy that I was hoping for in the game. Turns out there is. And then finally, for the roll and writes, well, I see one more sitting over there. I will get to that when we get to that section, though it will be added to the roll and write Calyx Cubbies, which are a little bit neater now. A few less games in there. And that is going to be from Pandasaurus Games again, the Dinosaur Island Roll and Write, and this is the Kickstarter edition. So, comes with all the extra bonus things from the Kickstarter, I believe. And it's about dinosaur genetics and building a dinosaur park. I am curious to see if this is going to be the game that I'm hoping it is. I suspect it It may not be. And it might be leaving the collection, but I want to give it a try first. And you can see that it's still in shrink here. So it's going back on the shelf. It does, I believe, 1 to 4 players. So it has a solo mode. I really just need to get this to the table and play it. Maybe play this and Dino World in an evening. So let me grab next collection of games. And so one of the things to talk about, well, I forgot or didn't talk about at the very beginning why I'm doing this. So I'm doing this because, and I'm doing this quickly because there's a board game sale kind of flea market thing that's coming up in May. So a little bit over a month away. I'm shooting to get a table for that, and I want to get through my collection. I was already planning on doing this. I'm just doing it faster now because of this. So we'll start with Marvel United X-Men. This is the base set. It is most certainly not going anywhere. In fact, it's going with the other Marvel United stuff behind me, and it sounds like probably not too long until Marvel United starts to ship more, or starts to ship its expansions out. I think, I'm trying to remember what the latest update was for that. I want to say, I think it's that it's either on a ship or just about to port, something like that. So when I get the rest of it in, I will be doing a massive unboxing. Next up, I'm going to pull up 3 games here, actually. We have Foodies from Simon. We have Space Base from AEG. And we have My Farm Shop from Pegasus Spiel. So why have all of these games up at once? They are all kind of a Machikoro style game where one person rolls and then everybody takes that action. I have only played this one. I picked it up at the pop-up Gen Con. I enjoy my plays of it, but the more plays I get of it, the less I'm enjoying it. It's such a simple game that it's going to be going. That's going to be the first one leaving the collection, just because it is simple, and I want to try these other 2 more so. I suspect I'm going to find the same thing with Foodies. I just need to play it. Space Base, I've heard better things about. I've heard that it's the gamers' Machikoro, and there have been some mixed opinions on it, for sure, but I do want to give it a try and see what it's like. So these 2 can go back on the shelf by each other. I suspect once I've played both, only one is going to stick. Next up, we have Pandemic. There's no room. Oh, there is room for it over here. So it's going to go over by that Pandemic Legacies. I'm going to keep it around, though it's not a game that I'm not that excited to play Pandemic again. It has nothing to do with the fact we're going through an epidemic or have gone through an epidemic. I'm not sure, or pandemic. I'm not sure where the terminology lies on it now. But it has to do with the fact that Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is that much better. It's a very similar game, but it offers story, it offers some interesting things. Now, obviously, it's a legacy game. You can only play it once per copy, but you can find copies at a relatively good price right now. So this one's going to stick around because it's good for introducing people to, but it's not high on my list to play again when I have Pandemic Legacy. And honestly, there's other games that I'm as apt to use as a kind of gateway game experience. And this is another one that I can use as a gateway game experience, which is going to be Carcassonne. This one is a tile laying game where you build out the map as you go. It's a cool idea for people who haven't played that many games before. And because it is a good gateway game, it is going to stick in the collection, though it's close to leaving, but still it is a fun one. It's one of the gateway games. Like, I still have Ticket to Ride. We saw that in the last video, and I'm not going to be getting rid of Ticket to Ride anytime, but it's still, I don't know, Ticket to Ride I'm less apt to play than I am to play Carcassonne. So, it should fit. Yes, that fits. Perfect. I do need to see if I can get the Small World stuff all into a single box. Next up, let's pop down here. I'm going to group a few games together to talk about. There was a missing piece from one of the games, so they sent me a new copy, or new piece for it. A few more to grab here. Just quickly finish grabbing from a stack. Start with Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns is a fun little puzzle of a game where you're putting down little cubes to build buildings, and those buildings you use to kind of set up an engine of things, or how things are going to work. I like it. I do regret a little bit buying both expansions, but there's enough in the base box to be interesting. I do need to play with the expansions, which is why I kind of regret buying them. They might take it away from that really accessible level, because this is basically a gateway game as well, but it has a little bit more going for it than a lot of gateway games do. Next up, we have Nidavellir. Nidavellir is an auction, or is a bidding set collection Viking game. I'm fine with it. This is actually one that I think is going to go. I've played it a few times, and it feels like it kind of just plays the same every single time. I was hoping that there'd be more interest or intrigue into how it played, but instead I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. And I mean, that's never a feeling you really want to have in a game. You want to feel like you're discovering something new. Now, there's an expansion Thingavellir, but I don't think that's enough to save this game, because even if it adds more stuff, I don't think it's going to make the game feel that different. It's just going to be a different set to collect. So yeah, this one's going. Alright, let's see. Trying to figure out which one to do next here. This one, might as well. This is one of the hottest games out there right now. This is the one that everybody knows about, Wingspan, because it's shown up in Target. It was near impossible to find when it first came out. And Wingspan is an engine building game where you're bird watching, basically. At least that's the theme. You're basically using collecting birds that you see in different habitats, and then rolling and getting food resources that you can get as well. I'm interested to try this one. This is one that's going to stay on the shelf because I do want to play it, but I don't know if it's going to stick. Mainly because, I mean, I have other engine builders I really like. Homebrewers on the shelf there is one of them. So we'll have to see if it sticks for me. Plus, I know somebody who owns it. I want to play this copy, see for sure. But it's on the chopping block potentially. Again, it's just one that I need to play. And so this is the one that I was putting the piece into. And thank you, AEG, for sending me the replacement piece. But Mariposas, also by Elizabeth Hargraves, is going to be a game about butterflies and about flying up north and then trying to make it back south to score as many points as possible. I've watched this one play over on the Glory Hound YouTube channel, and honestly, I think it looks pretty cool. I think this is going to be one that I would find fun to play. Plus, much like Wingspan, this is a very accessible theme with butterflies, though not the only game I have with a butterfly theme, and I like the other one theoretically. I like the idea of the other one better. So, this one's going to stick on the shelf, but for how long, we'll have to see. So the other butterfly one here is going to be Papillon. And this one, I mean, the reason why, flip this carefully, is these 3D flowers. So it's a tile laying game, which is something I like, which is why Carcassonne is sticking around. Area control, where as you put butterflies onto the flowers, that then gives you majority, and depending on who has the most, you score points. It seems really cool, looks really pretty. And I'm already getting rid of photosynthesis, which has 3D trees. So I'm going to keep that one for the 3D flowers. It's not really why I'm doing it, but we'll pretend. Next up, we have The Hobbit, the board game from Fantasy Flight Games. This is an interesting game. I don't know that I would call this game great, but it does some fun things that I like, plus it has a ton of really fun jewels in it. And sometimes that toy factor is enough to keep a game around. And it's going to keep this one around because, well, one, it's one that my wife and I have played 2-player, and it was fun. But I think I like it better with more. Mainly because, so the idea of the game is that you're trying to build up your skills. To do that, you have to then land on certain spots on the board, and that will eventually get you to positions where you're doing various challenges that you use your skills, your stats for. Where it's cool with this one is that everybody is not working together, but should be at least paying attention to work together, so that in a 4-player game, players land in the right spots to improve the right skills so that everybody's fairly balanced. If one person becomes too strong, well, they're going to be able to take out a whole bunch of the challenges, but not all of them, and then are going to start suffering consequences for that. So you want everybody to be decently good, because most of the time, your stats straight up won't be able to beat the challenge. So you want to be able to spread it out some. It's a fun idea, fun game. Sticking around for now. It is one that might leave eventually. Ooh, this really should go on the racing game shelf. Let's see if we can fit it there. This one is going to stay as well. I have yet to play it. I'm not even sure this has all the pieces. This was from the Fantasy Flight Game Center, or the Game Center now. And It was when they were redoing their demo shelf. I hope this has most of the pieces or enough to be able to play the game. I want to give it a go, see what it's like. I just need to sit down and see if it does have enough. But yeah, it's definitely one that I want to try. I've heard great things about it, and it is basically a racing game as you race around the island of Jamaica. So, free up some spot room on the racing game shelf here. There we go. Only 2 games gone thus far. Last time I think that ended up being 8. I had 8 in my article. I missed writing about Spectre Ops there. And Second Chance came back onto the shelf. So technically there were 9 ready to go for a second, but then 1 was saved. Alright, let's give me a second to get down here, pull out the next group of games. While I'm down there, do want to try and shift a few things around. I'm trying to, to give a little story of what I'm trying to do. I mean, besides what I've already talked about, trying to clear games out of my collection, I do want to kind of rearrange stuff in my collection, make it more optimized for being able to get games out, having similar types of games in similar areas. So like I have now a Calyx cubby that has, I think, all but one of my racing games. There's no way to fit that last one in. So it's missing Camel Up that we haven't come to yet. But I'm trying to get things sorted a little bit better. And I was looking and I was like, oh, wait, I have like Takanoko, Starship Samurai, then a couple over here that have a bit more of like this one has an anime-esque look to it, anime-esque theme. Unicornus Knights. Unicornus Knights is one that I picked up fairly cheap, like years ago at this point. I haven't played it. I want to play it, but I know I'm not going to because it's a little bit more of a complex game, or a game that feels, I want to say, is going to be different for a lot of people to play, in the fact that, so the main gal here, the princess, she is going across the land trying to clear up the evil that's there. She's very powerful, but very much a kind of a glass cannon. She can win fights when need be, but you don't always want to put her into a fight. So as the generals around her, you are trying to mitigate what she does and direct her in certain ways. Cool idea, but I just don't think I'm going to get it to the table. Next up, I have another one in shrink here, Everdell. Everdell is going to stay in the collection. This is one that, unlike Unicornus Knights, which I've heard good things about, I've heard mixed things about, generally most people like Everdell. Even if you don't love it, you probably appreciate it. And it's an engine building game, very curious about it, kind of Redwall type feel to it. I want to mess around with it, see how good it is, and just, has a lot of cool elements to it that I want to see, because I think it could be a game that works well for me. It's honestly, this is one of those games where it's like I'm being a little bit dumb that I haven't played it yet, because it does stuff that I like, but I haven't played it because I'm like, well, it's so popular. I'm too. It's too popular for me to play. Keep it for the squishy berries. Yeah, I've heard the squishy berries are quite wonderful. So, yeah, I really need to get that one played. Next up, we have the Cowboy Bebop board game boogie from Jasco, Lindvander, Sunrise, and Funimation. Oh, there are squishy berries and perseverance too. Nice. So this one is based off of the anime Cowboy Bebop, an anime that I really like, and one that I have friends who really like it as well. I need to find a time for us all to get together and play it. And the issue is we all have kids right now. Well, we all have kids. We did not all have kids. Yeah, neither couple had kids. No, I would. Yeah, I don't remember the exact timeline for it, but I got this when there was a better chance that we could play it. I still want to play it. It is still an anime that I love, so it's going to be sticking on the shelf. And now I'm going to have to create a little shelf of like some Japanese themed games. Next up, we have the Rat Catcher. This was a Kickstarter game that I got after the fact from Platypus Industries. And it's a solo-only game. You can watch to see how it plays over on the Glory Hound YouTube channel, which once I saw how it played there, that's when I picked it up. I haven't played my copy yet. I need to. I like my solo games. I've heard the rule book is atrocious. In fact, Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., he got rid of his copy without ever actually having truly played the game because the rule book is so bad. And then on the other hand, Jesse from Quackalope loves this game because he learned how to play it from kind of the designer, which when you have access to the designer, that makes a big difference in being able to figure out all the rules, everything going into the game. It's still one that I really want to try, but it's going over onto a table, not because I'm even considering getting rid of it. I'm not. It's going onto the table because, well, I have some other solo-only games, or at least one other on the shelf here, that I want to put it next to. Then up top we have Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, all 3 boxes. I think I have basically everything for that. There are a few smaller expansions I don't have. I'm fine not having those. That game is going to stay. I have yet to play it. I do not know when I'll play it because it's a big, long, epic 4X game. But it's the one that I want to play more than I want to play something, say, like Twilight Imperium, 4th edition. So I just need to find the time, find the group, find the place to play a big whole day sort of event. And obviously with COVID, some of the gaming locations that we might have gone aren't necessarily as readily available. I'm going to pull down the other game from up top here. And that is going to be, well, that's just expansion, or that's just terrain stuff. This is a magnet. This is a really heavy box for the Faceless. The Faceless, I've heard fairly mixed things about. It in concept is fascinating to me, which is why I picked it up. Because in the game, you are moving around characters, and this monster is going to go after whoever it's facing, and that is determined by kind of a magnetic pull. And so you're trying to manipulate the monster and move him around so that he doesn't catch anybody, and you can complete your objectives, or at least that's my understanding of this game. I've heard that it works okay-ish, but this was being closed out by Quartermaster Logistics through Cool Stuff Inc. I think this was like $3. This with the magnet was maybe $6, and the game was $10. I mean, I'm gonna try it at that price, especially because this is a game that if I like it, it's cooperative. You can't let the kid behind you die as well. But yeah, it's one of them where if I like it, great. If not, this is a Kickstarter game. I can probably get the $20 at the sale. So this is going to have to be one that I try soon here. It's a 2 to 4 player game. I don't know if anybody plays as the Faceless, but we'll see. We'll see. It might be a good one, might not. Also, bouncing it to put it up really high, tricky. Yeah, most definitely going to drop the small box. Let me grab a number of smaller boxes again here. The Not Rollin' Rights. I even have some more smaller boxes over there. So let's start with one that is for sure staying. And that is going to be Marrying Mr. Darcy. Marrying Mr. Darcy is a game that my wife got on Kickstarter. It's not mine to decide whether or not this one stays or goes. It stays. I actually enjoy it as well. You're basically building up your lady from Pride and Prejudice and trying to court and end up with the correct suitor that's going to give you the most points, or at least one that's going to give you a number of points. And this is just the Emma expansion. I think in the box there's the zombie expansion as well, because of Pride and Prejudice and zombies. It's a fun kind of filler plus game, in not that it's the complexity level takes it past a filler game. It just lasts longer than the standard filler I'd go with. Next up, we're going to do Point Salad. Point Salad is, especially at lower player counts, a filler game. I think at like 5 or 6, it takes a little bit longer. I wouldn't know that I'd call it a filler game. But it's a fun set collection game with one thing that it does that's really cool. And that's going to be that the veggies that you can draft for your salad, when they're on the piles before they're kind of put out into the main tableau, they have scoring on the back of them. So there's 3 piles with scoring on the back of them. And you can either take 1 scoring card or 2 veggies. And it's grabbing those scoring cards that are right for you, or sometimes when playing, if I see that somebody's going for would want a certain scoring card, and say it's in a column with tomato, there's another column with a tomato, I'm going to take it from the one where now that scoring card that'd be really good for them is going to flip down and not be out there anymore. Then we have Res Arcana. Res Arcana is another engine building game, which I think I need to find a spot to stick it besides where it was. And this one is really interesting to me. I enjoy it a lot in that it is a 8-card engine building game. You never have more than 8 cards, though you can use those cards to get other cards, but not other cards to put into your hand. Just other cards that maybe give you a one-time effect or give you a resource at the beginning of the game or beginning of the round. They don't necessarily change up too many things, but it's such a good puzzle as you try and figure out, okay, how do I build my engine so it is most optimized? I have the second expansion coming for it, so like I said, I'm not getting rid of it. This is one that I expect will be fairly high in my top 100 next year. Then we have the Lost Expedition and the Fountain of Youth and Other Adventures expansion. I just mainly need to get these two into one. This is a cooperative game that really doesn't allow you to have an alpha gamer. And that comes in with how you play out cards. You're playing out cards basically that are going to have different challenges on them. It might be like, okay, you have to spend to explore, or, well, there's a panther here. You can either shoot it and get 2 food from it, or add 2 cards to kind of the end of the row for what you're having to deal with, and you're trying to get through all of that in the most optimized way. In the daytime, you put the cards in numerical order, so each person is playing down 2 cards, and they drop into numerical order as you put them down, but you can't talk about what's on your cards. That's how it keeps the alpha player problem from really happening. I can't be like, oh, you should really play something, somebody needs to play something that does this, or nobody can be like, well, I have a card that will get us a bullet with this number, should I play it now? There can never be that sort of question. So this is a good one. The main box has an insert into it that I have to rip out now to fit in these cards, which is a little bit annoying, but I mean, it's a nice problem to have because it means that the game has done well enough. I'm going to have to grab some water here in a second, as I'm talking a lot. Next up, we have another solo game, and this is the one that I was saying Ratcatcher needs to be next to, Under Falling Skies. Under Falling Skies is basically I call it a combination of Space Invaders and Independence Day. You have waves of ships that are coming down, but there's a mothership up here that is slowly descending, and that's what you have to research and figure out how to destroy, which is where I give it the Independence Day sort of feel. Really nice pieces, a lot of fun for a solo game. I mean, it says 1+, but I don't know. I wouldn't play it with more. If you play it beyond 1, you're basically just sharing the decision making. There isn't any additional decisions to be made. So next up we have Hats. Hats is a game that is hard to explain. In this game, there is a central table, which you're at the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and you are trying to manipulate it so that the color of hats you are collecting score well, basically be further down the table, or one of that color further down the table. But to do that, you are always playing cards out of your hand onto the table and then taking whatever card you removed on the table to play yours down and putting that in a tableau in front of you. This game says 2 to 4. This is a 2-player game, maybe 3, but 4 players just too chaotic. And I really have enjoyed this game a lot. I really like the box too for the game. Obviously it looks like a book. It's a hard one to get to the table all that often, but it's a good one for work. So I was debating whether or not I was going to keep it. I am going to keep it. And finally, from that section, we have Truffle Shuffle. Truffle Shuffle is basically collecting poker hands and trading those in for coins. I think this is a 2 to 4 player game. I've only played it at 2, and I played it a few times at 2. I'm almost talking myself right now into keeping this game because it is a fun, simple, potentially 2-player drafting game because it uses a layout much like Seven Wonders Duel does. And that works in terms of drafting, where you have a tableau of cards that are laid out and they're overlapping, and so as you remove cards, you open up other options, so there's strategy to what you take, because you might not want to be the person who opens up the option that's really good for your opponent. You want them to open it up so you can grab it, sort of thing. Plus it has a nice truffle theme. I think it is going to stick around. I was hoping between that and hats that one of them might leave. Not because I really want to, but that's the thing, is I don't really want to get rid of either of them because I like both of them. So, yeah, they're going to stick around. Point Salad. Lost Expedition could maybe leave. I know somebody who owns the game, but it's also one that it's simple enough to play that I want to keep, because I can definitely teach it to other people. Let's talk about the game on top right now. Yeah, let's talk about it right now. I can pull down one box for it. I have 2 more to figure out where to stack. And this one I can directly blame on Fatal for, well, getting me into it. Because this is Solomon Kane. Solomon Kane, it's a game I still have yet to play. I have a few expansions for it at this point in time. Each of these expansions is going to kind of be a different set of story for it. And the reason I can blame Fatal for it is he found the listing on eBay, actually I think for both the core set and for this expansion that I bought. And now Mythic Games has some of the other expansions available on their website. So I have Against the Vampires and African Sun or something like that. I can't quite see it as well. And this is one that I need to play. I love the idea of this game too, where Solomon Kane is this kind of Puritan righteous hero that was created by R.E. Howard, who also created Conan the Barbarian. And in the game, nobody is playing Solomon Kane. So, like, there have been Conan games that have come out, and the issue with the Conan game, or the Conan game that I had and got rid of from Monolith, is that Conan is the best character in the game by far, so you could basically have one person playing as Conan, plus then kind of keeping an eye on what the other characters are doing, and one person playing the system of the bad guys. This one, however, nobody is playing as Solomon Kane. You are playing as different virtues who can influence and control what Solomon Kane does. So everybody is playing as the main character as a virtue. So really cool. And a whole bunch of different story scenarios that you can play through. Like this one, Right Hand of Doom, is in 1 act and 10 chapters. Does it say? It says 2 to 3 hours per act. So this is a 2 to 3 hour game, and you get the full story. So it's campaign-esque, but not actually a campaign game. Back on the shelf you go. I'm gonna have to move the faceless to fit it in, or to fit the expansions up on top if I put them up there. Let me grab now my next batch or two, just batch of games. We're gonna start with the newest in the group. Canvas and Canvas, there's no such thing as Canvas, and Canvas Reflections. So Canvas Reflections is an expansion to Canvas. Canvas is a fairly simple, 1 to 5 player game where you are creating 3 pictures. What works really well in this game is it's very simple. On your turn, you can either take a painting or part of a painting, paying for it if you don't take the last one, or you can paint a painting. And painting a painting is just layering 3 cards together, and then you score points or get ribbons based off of the symbols at the bottom. So you're if you're playing the game to win, you're trying to optimize the symbols at the bottom. If you're playing the game for fun, you're trying to create the coolest painting you can. I think either is a good way to play it, and it is a very fun game that is going to be sticking in my collection. Also, super, super light. So, amazing artwork and super accessible. This game is a winner in terms of something that I can probably play with almost anyone. I may hang it on the wall, which will free up some space. So one that I got cheap here from Greenbrier Games is going to be Grimslingers. Grimslingers has 2 different modes. There is a competitive mode, versus mode, 2 to 6 players, that is basically rock, paper, scissors. I did not get it for that. That doesn't sound interesting to me. However, there is a 1 to 4 player co-op mode as well that has narrative campaign composed of 4 60 to 90 minute sessions, battling strange creatures, overcoming intense challenges, collecting loot, gaining levels, and exploring this forgotten West, which is very much a weird West. So if you watched the first one where I talked about Shadows of Brimstone, I think that was the first one. Yeah, maybe the second. I really like Weird West. That is why I have this game. I need to play it. Because I can play it solo, I don't have a great excuse why I haven't yet. Not sure if you've seen this one before. You can actually find this pretty often on sale. So I know when I picked it up, it was probably about 50% off on Miniature Market. So it's a cool one, a cool looking one. I have friends who have played the cooperative version and very much enjoy it. Now, decide where I'm going to put this one on the shelf. Probably up top there. There should be room for another thinner game. Let's see if there's one good to go. So there are a few games. The Faceless, which I talked about, Pioneer Days, and Danger Park are 3 games that I picked up because probably the company was going out of business for all of them. I know for Story Machine games and for TNG they were. For the Faceless, I'm not sure if that was a company going out of business or if it was somebody who had just done a Kickstarter. But Danger Park is going to be about building out your amusement park, and you're trying to make as much money as you can before you get shut down. Game trays in here. It's always fun. Should hopefully make it easier to get to the table. But Danger Park, definitely, it's one that I want to try, see how it is, because I think it could be fun. I like the theme of an amusement park. I like a theme of an amusement park where, well, things are going bad. What's the point of an amusement park if there's not a chance for danger? Next up, we have Splendor. Splendor is one that I would probably have leaving the collection, but I'm not going to have it leave the collection because this is one that my wife enjoys a lot, and this is one that she can teach. So when we have a bigger game night, this, Marrying Mr. Darcy, there are a few games that she can pull off the shelf and split off a group and teach it. We don't have to necessarily split some of us who are more interested in playing heavy games into two different groups. Splendor is basically an engine building game about collecting these gem tokens, turning them into cards. Those cards give you permanent gems, which you can then help use to get other cards, eventually collecting these kind of nobles, all in a race to get 15 points. This is a game where you're trying to get 15 points, and that is the game. And stuff has shifted, so unshift so I can lay you flat again, please. Or not lay you flat, set you upright without the cover not lining up. For me, I have played the puzzle, I've enjoyed the puzzle, I'm done with the puzzle. Next up, we have the Bloody Inn. The Bloody Inn is going to be a game where everybody runs an inn. And, well, you figure out that for most of the people who come and stay, it's more profitable to kill them and take their money than it is to just have them stay at your place. But of course, now if you're killing off everybody, you have to figure out what to do with the bodies as well. And so that's going to be kind of how this game works, is you're setting up your inn and trying to kill people as efficiently as possible to make as much money as possible. Absurd theme for a game, one that I like. And I've heard good things about it. Z Garcia from the Dice Tower really enjoys it, so I decided it was worth a try. And yeah, the theme is what draws me in more than anything. Like, it's dark but absurd. Alright. So now, coming to another section where, well, nothing's leaving. Nothing is going to be leaving here. Potion Explosion, I absolutely love. I have yet to play much with the fifth ingredient one, but Potion Explosion is basically one of those Connect 3 sorts of games where, so if you think about it in terms of the app game, you pull out something, it drops, you remove a gem, it drops, you connect 3 together, all of those disappear, you connect more of colors that are matching, you get those disappear as well, and you're kind of trying to create a chain reaction like that. You do the same thing in Potion Explosion, except you're creating a chain reaction to then be able to brew potions. And you brew potions, you complete a potion, then you get a special power. You use that power to be able to pull more die or more marbles out of there. And it has an awesome little marble tray that everything comes rolling down. Absolutely love this game. It has been hard to find, though I think Horrible Guild maybe has more of it out now. And they just did an April Fool's joke for a non-existent expansion that they were coming out with, which I think there is an expansion that I am missing. So I should have maybe used the code that they had to get that expansion if it was available. Next up, we have a tactical 2-player skirmish style game. Not the type of game I normally buy. However, the Dragon Prince, that is a... It's not an anime, because it's technically an American studio. Oh, it's yeah, Potion Explosion. Oh, they're gonna do a relaunch because all the original packaging has Horrible Games on it, and they're relaunching it with Horrible Guild, and US distribution originally was with Simon. So good to know. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. I maybe should reach out to them because one of my yellow marbles is broken. But so Dragon Prince is an anime styled animated show that is on Netflix. Absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Same guys, or some of the same people who did Avatar: The Last Airbender. For me, I like the Dragon Prince better than Avatar: The Last Airbender. And this is basically just a draft your team and fight sort of game. Haven't played it. Gonna keep it for the theme. And yeah, this one, I probably shouldn't have gotten it because skirmish games I'm not always the hugest fan of. Though last time I did talk about Super Fantasy Brawl, and I have all the second wave of stuff, or second Kickstarter stuff coming tomorrow. And then we have Project L. Almost getting to the end of where I wanted to get to tonight, because the next section is all behind my monitor, so I'm going to want to pull it out ahead of time. But Project L is basically an engine building game which is much like Tetris. You're putting different shaped Tetris style pieces into cards that basically are recessed, and you're doing that when you complete one of them. That generally gives you another piece to add to your collection. So the ones that you fill into the shape, bigger shape, you get back, as well as then a new piece to basically build up your engine of pieces that you have as you go. It is fun, very smooth to get out with this game trays insert. So that one's sticking around. Down to 6 last games. So if you want it to be as 80s as you could be, we have Laser Riders. Laser Riders is a tabletop, basically like the bike game from Tron game, where you are racing to get through different kind of spots on the board. And then more will show up when you do. And you crash into somebody else. You have to restart at the edge. It's basically a race to see who can... Yeah, basically a race to see who can get them the fastest. And the artwork on this is... I mean, absurd. I'm not going to get rid of it because, well, one, I can maybe get like $5 for this, but two, it's just a silly good time because you're all standing at the edge of the table. You have these pieces that are basically the path that you can go on, and you have your handful of those pieces. You pick one out, you put it over the top of the table, you are putting that piece down. It is a game that is meant to be silly, and it is, and it works. I don't know where this goes on the shelf, though. Next up, we have two that I need to just get played. So we have Escape the Room, Mystery of Stargazer's Manor. And this one, they say 3 to 8 players. Really, it's 90 minutes, 3 to 8 players. Can't I just play it solo? I don't know. It'd be more fun with more players. Yeah, Nosferatu Clown, I am very much with you on like that 70s and 80s futuristic neon. I'm a big fan of that. And then the other escape room game here is the Star Wars one, which I had meant to have played by now, but I really should just get through this one. It would certainly be easy enough to do. This one might be a little bit more work since they do recommend more players, but I'm not sure that you actually need to have more. I'm just going to set some of these things off to the side for right now. And finally, in that group, we have the Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a push your luck bag building game where you are drawing out chits that basically go into your potion in hopes of it not exploding. The whole idea of being a quack here is a medical quack back in the day, just mixing together random concoctions. I've played it at 2 players a few times. It is a lot of fun. This is another one that got really popular and was like, is it actually going to be that good? Yes, it is. This is a very good game as compared to some of the other one. Well, so of the games that have gotten really popular, I was like, I'm not going to jump onto the hype. Ganjan Clever, very good game. Quacks of Quedlinburg, very good game. The Mind, already gone from my collection. No, they aren't ducks, which, I mean, is a little bit disappointing. They could have leaned into the word quack. I mean, calico, technically there are calico cats and calico quilts. Why not with Quacks of Quedlinburg lean into it and make it duck medical professional? Well, not medical professionals. That would be hilarious. I would be all for that. So that one is sticking around for sure. Let me put a few of these back. Putting the 80s goodness back on the shelf. And those escape room games, you need to find a time to just play them. I have friends who live close. I should just invite them over to play it. Then we have Res Arcana. It's going to go there. I'm down to the last 2 here. One of them is a beast, which is hiding the other one, so I never remember to actually play it. So with Quacks, I do not have the Geek Up bits for that yet. I've actually looked at some other options as well, just like the coin capsules or stuff like that, because the Geek Up bits basically cost the same amount as the game, which is a lot to do to, bling out your game. If I can get coin capsules and they fit in those at a cheaper price, then I'll probably do that, because I do understand the issue of when you're grabbing them out of the bag that they do wear out. So you were asking about Black Rose Wars. It is on my shelf of to be played. I'm not going to get rid of it because it seems like the type of game that I like. You're slinging spells around and kind of deck building, programming out what you're going to do, and then deciding what you're going to activate. And you just get really crazy powerful spells, and you can literally blow up rooms, which sounds phenomenal. It also apparently is a pain to teach, but I've sorted everything. I just need to go through and learn the rules at this point. Yeah, this whole section right behind me here, Champions of Hara, Black Rose Wars, and Western Legend, are all ones that I still need to play. So, next up, we have Shadowrun Crossfire. This is a deck building-ish game where you are fighting different scenarios in the Shadowrun world. Shadowrun world is basically a cyberpunk future setting based off so this is an RPG setting, and you go on these different runs dealing with different machines and stuff like that. Oh, I guess Fatal, as I read the rest of your comment there, from what I've heard, the base game is plenty. If you're gonna get Black Rose Wars, like there's I forget what it's called. But there's a box that has a ton of stuff, but is a pain to mix in because you have to mix stuff in very specifically. So you're like constructing and deconstructing the deck every time. Yeah, Novice something, or yeah, I forget what it is. Don't get that. If you're interested in Black Rose Wars, get the base game, try it out, see if you like it, and probably never get the thing that you'll never use because it's too much of a pain to mix it all in. But yeah, back to Shadowrun Crossfire. Yeah, I really like the Shadowrun setting. I haven't played much in it. I've heard some RPG playthroughs and stuff like that, and I have played the intro scenario to this game. The cool thing about this is it's kind of a campaign, and as you go, you get XP and can level up your characters. The big negative I've heard about this game is that it takes forever to level up your characters. Oh, nice. Fatal has played couple of video games in the Shadowrun setting. It's honestly, that's probably how I should be diving into it, and besides diving into a board game. But yeah, this one is going to be sticking around as well. Did I already talk about... looking for the other game that uses this same setting. Seriously, where did it go on my shelf? Or did I get rid of it already? There's a fantasy as well, Dragonfire, that has a whole bunch of different things as well. That one's a D&D one. Oh, yep, that's on the shelf down there. I'm going to keep both. I think I like both of those settings. And did I get Sprawl Ops for it? I did not get the Sprawl Ops expansion, but I do have the board game Shadowrun Sprawl Ops. And this is kind of a worker placement game in a massive box with a bunch of foiled board maps. And I backed it on Kickstarter because of the Shadowrun setting. I got my stuff. I do not regret it. I need to play it, but the company, I'm blanking, Linvander, and I just looked at another game that they helped with. Oh yeah, Linvander Studios, who helped with the Cowboy Bebop one. And this I didn't get the 5 to 6 player expansion. That is the thing that I didn't get for this game. I do have the cooperative expansion for it. I do really want to play this. If I hold this much longer, I may actually die. So I should probably set it down because I haven't adjusted my will yet. But honestly, how the campaign was run, and it was more the comments after the fact. I feel like I've been hesitant to play it just because of that. Not because I don't think this is potentially a good game, but when the guy from Linvander, who is kind of doing the updates, is making video updates while drunk, that's not great. Yeah, the board is sweet, especially with it being foiled. So, yeah, this one's going to stick around for now as well. This is actually one that I should try and get played, see if it is the type of game that I like. Yeah, so the board is foiled, which makes it rainbowy. And you're seeing, or you're hearing my comments slightly after you write your own. This is one that I should see because I can probably sell it for a little bit. I'm not sure how well loved this game is, but there's going to be people, because of the Shadowrun name on it, who are going to be interested. But also because of the Shadowrun name on it, I am also interested. So that is another 2 Calyx shelf sections. And I mean, I basically freed up a whole section of a Calyx shelf just with the 3 games, so I'll count that as a win. Next time, we're getting into some more of the party game or bigger group game stuff, and I think there will be a few in there that I get rid of. It's kind of the extremes. So yeah, so Fatal normally I sell at or trade into my local game store, and I have a really good one for that. With this going through the collection, there is a local cidery that every year, or a couple times a year I think even, they do a board game market basically, and anybody can pay like $25 as long as there's still table space available, or space for a table available. You can pay $25, bring in what you want to sell, and sell them. And that's some of the reason why I'm going through everything, is to just get as much, or to clear out a bunch of stuff in my collection, especially with other stuff coming in now. And I mean, Super Fantasy Brawl Wave 2 stuff is going to take up space. Marvel United X-Men is going to take up a chunk of space. They are locking in addresses for Zombicide Undead or Alive right now, because that's going to be hitting the ocean soon. That's a ton of stuff coming in, and unfortunately there's no way that Zombicide Undead or Alive is going to show up in time, because otherwise I might just turn around and immediately sell that at a market, because I have, well, one, I can potentially get enough money to buy a giant Galactus with it, and I already am paying for Marvel Zombies. But, and to, yeah, Zombicide is going to be 2 full Calyx shelves, or I'm going to have like the base game on the Calyx shelf and then sell off the other stuff. Because, again, it's Weird West. I like Weird West. And, yeah, Fatal... I feel like that is fair to be done with Zombicide at this point. Marvel Zombies... Well, Zombicide Undead or Alive brought me in because it was the Weird West. That was the only theme that I really liked. I had Green Horde for a little bit because I won it. And I never played it and ended up trading it into the local game store for store credit. I won it from them and traded it back in without actually playing it. Because the theme doesn't interest me too much. Nos, that is so much Zombicide. And yeah, Invader was tempting to me as well. I didn't back it. I'm glad I didn't back it. I'm much more interested in Undead or Alive. So I figure if nothing else, I can get an Undead or Alive, maybe sell everything else, except the base set, play that until I get in Marvel Zombies, and then decide if I want to keep Undead or Alive. And yeah, Zombicide is one that you can sell for profit, that is for sure. But I think with that, I have some kittens who are probably ready for me to check on them. And I will be back on Monday, theoretically, for another stream. Probably going through a pretty big chunk of games, hopefully. I'm getting down there on what I have to talk about, and I'm going to have to start moving some stuff around in order to get to some of my games to see if I'm going to keep them. But with that, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe. If you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment. And I will see you all.